What if I told you that your brain reacts to failure exactly like a video game crash, unless you force it to install a specific software patch called Not Yet? Most of us navigate our lives terrified of the critical error screen. We perceive a mistake, a failed exam, or a rejected business proposal not as a stepping stone, but as a sign of permanent inadequacy. Neurologically speaking, however, this interpretation is a fundamental misunderstanding of your own hardware. We need to begin by analyzing the chemistry of giving up versus the chemistry of persistence.
Most of us are running on legacy hardware code known as the fixed mindset. In this operating system, intelligence and talent are coded as static traits. You either have them or you don't. It is a binary system, 1 or 0, win or lose. When a person with a fixed mindset encounters a difficult problem, their brain activity actually drops. It ceases processing. Why? Because the subconscious logic dictates that if you have to try hard, it means you aren't naturally smart. Effort is seen as evidence of a lack of ability.
When you say, "I can't," a specific chain reaction occurs. Your amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, hijacks the prefrontal cortex. This is the biological equivalent of a system lockdown. The stress hormones cortisol and norepinephrine flood your synapses, literally inhibiting your ability to think creatively or find solutions. Your brain enters a defensive state, prioritizing safety and retreat over growth and adaptation. Effectively, you have pulled the plug on the console before the level could even load.
This is the ultimate game over screen. In a fixed mindset, failure is an identity statement. It says, "I failed, therefore I am a failure." This cognitive distortion stops the learning process cold. The neural pathways that could have been strengthened by the struggle are instead pruned away through disuse. You aren't just stopping, you are actively engaging in neural atrophy. But what if we could rewrite this code? What if we could change the parameters of the game entirely?
Enter Dr. Carol Dweck and the concept of the growth mindset. Think of this not as a self-help mantra, but as a critical software patch. By simply adding the word "yet" to a sentence, "I don't understand this yet," you physically alter your brain's response to the situation. This linguistic shift acts as a bridge. It tells your nervous system that the current failure is not a permanent condition, but a temporary coordinate on a much longer timeline. The shutdown signal is overridden.
This subtle reframing changes the chemical signaling in your brain. Instead of a cortisol flood inducing a freeze response, the brain remains engaged. It keeps the prefrontal cortex online and active. You shift from a state of threat to a state of challenge. This is where the video game analogy becomes not just a metaphor, but a neurological reality. Your brain begins to treat the obstacle exactly like a difficult boss fight in a complex RPG.
Imagine you are playing a game like Dark Souls or Elden Ring. You walk into a boss arena, and within 10 seconds, you are annihilated. "You died" appears on the screen. Do you throw the console out the window and declare yourself incompetent? No, you respawn. You understand that the first death was merely information gathering. You learn that the boss swings his sword to the left before he strikes. You learn the timing of his heavy attack.
In the growth mindset, failure is just data collection. It is the process of mapping the enemy's attack patterns. Every time you fail, you are downloading critical information about what doesn't work, which narrows down the possibilities of what does work. The "not yet" effect allows you to detach your ego from the outcome. You aren't the failure. Your strategy was just incomplete. The game over screen is actually a loading screen for your next, more informed attempt.
Here is the biochemical secret. Traditionally, dopamine is released when you achieve a goal. But in a growth mindset, you can train your brain to release dopamine during the struggle itself. When you view the challenge as a puzzle to be solved, rather than a judgment on your soul, the effort itself becomes rewarding. You start to crave the friction, because you know that friction is the precursor to mastery. You are hacking your own reward system to sustain motivation without immediate success.
This persistence triggers neuroplasticity. Unlike a computer that degrades over time, your brain is anti-fragile. It gets stronger the more you stress it, provided you allow for recovery. When you struggle to learn a new concept, your neurons are frantically firing, searching for new connections. It is physically uncomfortable. It feels like confusion and frustration. But that feeling is literally the sensation of your brain architecture upgrading itself to a higher level.
Neuroscientists can actually see this on an EEG. It's called error-related negativity, or ERN. It's a spike in electrical activity that happens the millisecond you make a mistake. In fixed mindset brains, this signal is weak. They ignore the error to protect their ego. In growth mindset brains, the ERN signal is strong and sustained. They are hyper-focused on the mistake, processing it deeply to ensure it doesn't happen again. They are analyzing the boss's attack pattern in real time. As you repeat the attempt, respawning again and again, a substance called myelin begins to wrap around the neural circuit used for that skill. Myelin is like insulation tape on a wire. It prevents energy leak and increases the speed of neural transmission by up to 100 times. What was once a slow gravel road of clumsy thoughts becomes a superhighway of high-speed precision. This is the physiological basis of getting good.
Eventually, the impossible becomes muscle memory. The complex math problem, the difficult musical scale, or the impossible boss fight, it slows down. You can see the matrix. This isn't magic. It's the result of the not yet patch running its course. You have physically constructed a brain that is capable of solving the problem. You haven't just learned the answer. You have become the kind of person who can find the answer.
Life is not a linear corridor shooter. It is a massive open-world RPG. A fixed mindset traps you in the tutorial level, afraid to venture out where the high-level enemies are. But the not yet effect unlocks the rest of the map. It allows you to engage with challenges that are currently beyond your abilities, secure in the knowledge that your current inability is just a temporary state of loading data.
So, the next time you hit a wall, the next time you fail, and the screen goes black, don't unplug the controller. Remember that the frustration you feel is just the sensation of your brain gathering data on the enemy's attack pattern. You haven't lost. You just haven't won yet. Install the patch, respawn, and go beat the boss.